Hello, welcome to the August mid-month video, which you will not see until September because I'm not making it until September. My apologies again, folks, for being late on this. So much for trying to get back on track with these things. But basically, if you either haven't followed my Twitter feed or didn't see my last post on the Patreon, it's good reasons, if that helps at all. Basically, I devote the month that a book comes out to promotion anyway. And I just kind of accept the fact that I'm not going to do as much writing or things that I think of as, the fun part of writing, the part that I enjoy, the part that's my real job. I kind of just assume that I'm going to lose that time to interviews and signings and appearances. But because of the 1-2 punch of both the Hugo and the announcement about the TV show, my promotion calendar kind of went just bonkers. So I had more interviews and appearances and podcasts and oh, good grief, so much stuff. It was difficult, and I am still really only now just beginning to dig out from under it. As a case in point, this is the first time I've ever done a month of promotion where I didn't have time to write at all. Not even fanfic for stress relief, y'all. I am finally beginning to get back on track. I'm finally starting to write again. That's fantastic. I'm also now willing to devote some free time to things like Patreon videos. So anyway, to address the issue that was posted in my last post, the question of whether I was going to switch this Patreon over to a per story, per performance, whatever you want to call it, payment structure versus the monthly structure that I have it on right now. Many of you weighed in on that and said that you were perfectly fine with keeping things as they were. And I noodled it for a while and decided that I am too. At the end of the day, I'm a big believer in the philosophy of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And this ain't broke. So should things change in the future, I would welcome your feedback at any time. I am always willing to revisit this. So I guess we'll see. But for now, we're going to continue as we did. And I'm going to try and do the mid-month videos in the mid-month. We'll see how that goes. All right, lots of questions because of all of the announcements last month, so let's get right into them. I'm going to skim through the question, and because there's a lot of commentary along with the questions, and I'm gonna trim that down. All right, so first question is from Erin Badillo, who asks, is there a book tour for The Stone Sky? No, there will not be one. To put it bluntly, because for the last couple of years I've been dealing with Mom's illness, I don't talk a lot about this, but I've been traveling a lot. Something like 8 or 9 trips down to Alabama just over the course of last year. On top of all of my travel associated with conventions and appearances and interviews and I have ridiculous amounts of frequent flyer miles right now, which is awesome. I don't want to see a plane again, which is not. I am not going to be traveling for a while. I'm travel burned out. There's some stuff that I had already agreed to from years back. This is also why I'm no longer agreeing to do conventions or appearances or whatever 2 years in advance, which I had kind of gotten up to, because now when I'm exhausted, I feel obligated to go ahead and do those things. I am going to do them. But then I've been saying no for a few months now, and I think that's going to clear me a nice bit of space sometime in 2018 where I can just be here for months on end without traveling. That'd be nice. So no, I'm not going to do any more travel for a while. I need to recover. So, all right, next question. All right, good question from Bonnie Warford. Skimming through the question, my question, read the TV show. Do you trust these people to handle your themes of oppression and discrimination appropriately, especially in the light of HBO's Confederate? That is a really good question. All I can say at this point is the truth, which is I did not have to sell the rights. But because the main driving force between bringing this into a TV format, Leigh Dana Jackson, who is the writer right now for the series, he's the only writer, but I mean, I guess he'll be the head writer when all that gets worked out. Anyway, he is a longtime veteran of speculative fiction television. He's a black person himself. He seems to get it. He seems committed to the idea of keeping Esun and all the main characters of color, keeping Tongki trans. The casting has not been announced. I don't have any control over that. He doesn't really have any control over that. At the end of the day, we've got a bunch of TV executives that are going to be signing off on things. Directors haven't been chosen, casting hasn't been done, none of that stuff. It's early development. But that said, it is my hope that with someone in place who is an experienced professional who knows this business and who knows what it's like to try and struggle to see representation of yourself out there, and who understands that this series, of all of my series, is dealing with issues associated with oppression. I have to hope that he's going to do it justice. And so far, so good. So far, I've seen no sign of anything that makes me uncomfortable. Quite a few signs that make me excited. So we'll wait and see. Alrighty. Next question. From Rebecca Dominguez. So my question is, what did the edible amethysts taste like? Were they easy to eat at all? She's referring to the edible amethysts that were on my cake at my launch party. From Lucatini Cakes, which is a company down in Texas. I hope they're all right. But the edible amethysts were actually quite tasty. They're basically rock sugar. If you've ever had rock candy before, you know you don't just like crunch down on that stuff unless you want to lose a filling. You can, and this was it was crunchable. It's just that again, if you fillings. And it was flavored like lemon, I think, was the flavoring that we chose. They could have done any flavoring. It was artificially flavored and colored. Now, I should point out that these things were made of isomalt, which is not rock sugar. Isomalt is made for, kind of cake decoration making. The catch with isomalt is that if you eat way too much of it, like a lot, if you eat too much of it, it has a laxative effect. You don't want to eat too much of this stuff. It's delicious. Eat sparingly. All right. Next question. Okay. Let's see. Oh, these are suggestions. Okay. Here we go. Does this second? This is from Maria. Sorry. Do the second Hugo add more pressure than relieve? Are you going to be involved in the series development, and how? What was the best thing about the party? That's lots of questions. The Hugo does not add more pressure because I don't write for Hugos. I didn't expect to win either of these. I'm shocked that I actually did. I'm still kind of like suspicious. Imposter syndrome is a thing for all writers, I think, to some degree, except the ones who are terrible, who don't seem to have any of that. Anyway, but that said, I didn't expect to win these. I'm not planning on winning another, but writers shouldn't plan on things like that. I'm going to write what I always write. I'm going to do what I always do. I'm going to write stories that make me happy and which hopefully other people like to read too. So, yeah, no pressure. Are you going to be involved with the series development? No, probably not. I guess we'll see. And how? No clue. What was the best thing about the party? Probably having Mika McKinnon join me on stage. Mika McKinnon is a disaster specialist. You've probably seen me retweet stuff from her if you are on Twitter. And we had a party where we were talking about natural disasters and geophysics. So it was actually a beautifully nerdy, artsy, cool party. Excuse me. So it was a lot of fun. All right, next question. Dun, 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 dun. Skimming. Lots of comments, no questions. Oh, here we go. Dax asks, do you regret calling TSS TSS because now it might get confused with TSS when people are talking about your books? Oh, either The Stone Sky or The Shadowed Sun. I do regret it simply because I keep making that mistake. No one else seems to, so I don't know what the heck is up with that. But, you know, I'm not good with titles. I don't think about these things. All right, question 2. In a Reddit thread that I can no longer find, someone asked you what people in the stillness call the act of showing your derriere to someone is, since they don't have a moon. Really? I don't know. I'm sure they call it flashing or, I don't know, butt showing. I have no idea. I'm sure that they don't have... I don't think that they have time to do a whole lot of showing their ass. You guys come up with something. I can't help you there. And question 3, will you be involved in casting decisions for the television series? I guess we'll see. I don't know. All right. How are we doing on time? Oh, not bad. All right. More questions. Are there any? Oh, all right. Here's a question. You demand so much of your characters. Oh, sorry, this is from Michelle Jacobs. You demand so much of your characters, pummeling them with so much adversity and stripping them of all but the barest sliver of friends, family, and happiness, or hope for the future. This is true in Broken Earth, but actually in almost all your books. I often despair that they simply won't have enough hope to make it. I'm wondering what that says about your worldview. Is it possible for humanity to rise above itself, or are we really looking at endless cycles of subordination of those deemed lesser? Well, I mean, I don't believe that we're facing endless cycles because this is not a humanity thing. This, oppression certainly exists in many ways, shapes, and forms, but the particular brand of oppression that we kind of seem to be dealing with most, i.e. racism, was invented a few centuries ago, and it can be uninvented because it's a social thing. We created it, we can work through it, if the people who helped to perpetuate it and continue to benefit from it are ever driven to the point where they are forced to give it up, because I don't think that they're going to do it voluntarily. What it says about my worldview is that I'm a black woman in America, and that's what a lot of us have kind of reached the point of just sort of, we got to survive. On the other hand, we're not going to be blandly optimistic about things that don't look realistic. That said, there is hope in The Broken Earth. I hope that you saw that in that third book, especially, but I don't want to spoil things for those that might not have read it. So that's what it says. All right, I believe that's it for the questions. So, and I believe we are just now about out of time. This is the first time I've gotten really close to 15 minutes for a vid in a while. But all that said, thank you again for joining me. I will try and get the September mid-month video out in September. And thanks again.